What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to the show. This is episode 158. This is going to be another solo one, and I'm going to cover a question that I see pretty frequently and as recent as this weekend in the Divorce Support for Men group on Facebook. And that is the question of, how do you do the work? What does that mean exactly? That's going to be the main topic for this one, but I'm going to cover a couple of other things. I'm going to start with the new locations that have listened most recently. And again, these are the four most recent new locations. So shout out to Frederick, Maryland. You listened to episode 156. Shout out to Independence, Ohio. No fucking idea where that is. I know where Frederick is. I've been to Frederick many times. Frederick is a little bit more than an hour from me. Frederick is kind of where I cut off my dating distances. It's actually a little too far. So I'm not sure where Independence, Ohio is, but you listened to episode 157. Shout out to Vancouver, Washington. Another one for episode 156. And finally, lastly, Columbus, Georgia. You listened to episode 157. Welcome. I hope that you got something from those episodes, and I hope you stick around. Before I dive into the question of how do you do the work or what does that mean, I did want to cover something. I received a message a few weeks ago after I put out the I'm sorry episode, and I kind of forgot about this, but I did it popped in my brain as something I kind of wanted to talk about because I think it's an important distinction. I'll get to it, I promise. Someone messaged me after that episode and said, I don't think you're over your ex yet. I believe it was Eddie. So shout out to Eddie. I wasn't pissed by that comment, but I thought about it. Am I over her? I do think I am, but I also think I still love her. But it's a different kind of love. I think these things evolve. At least they have for me. If you have children with someone, I think that is a bond that will last, obviously, right? That will last for the rest of your life. And so I think that you can still love them, and I think you do in a certain way, though. It's different. I don't sit around pining for her. I do miss her sometimes. And again, back to way back episode, I think it's 11. I miss who I married. I don't necessarily miss the person that left me and called me so many different names and has taken so much from me financially, time with my children. I mean, there's just so many things that she's taken. But I think we get locked into this. I think I've said this before, and I know I'm guilty of it, but I think we all are really guilty of this, thinking that if we have an opinion about something, then that's the way that it is. You know, it's like if you dislike your ex-wife, then you have to, or if you dislike what she did, you have to hate her. You can love her and still dislike what she did, right? And again, it's a different kind of love. It's not oh my gosh, I can't live without her type of love. It's we had children together and I love her, but I don't want to be around her. You know what I mean? I think we get locked into these viewpoints where duality isn't allowed. And I just don't think that's very, I think it's very normal for us humans, but I think to think this way, I don't want to get into politics, but there are certain folks that think if you're a Republican, you must believe this, or if you're a Democrat, you must believe that. And I think that there is so much nuance in life that you can believe all kinds of different shit and about the same person or about the same event. You could look at getting fired from a job as a really horrific fucking thing, but yet it leads to something very positive. And honestly, in a lot of ways, same with divorce, right? It can be devastating, but also to lead to some really good things. So I bring this up because I think, not to defend myself or call him out. You know, I appreciate the point of view. I think you're wrong, Eddie, but I get why you would think that. But I think I want to stress that there is duality in life. There is good and evil, good and bad, all within the same person, all within the same uh, event, even. And so, if you feel a certain way now, just be mindful that you could feel a certain way later, and that doesn't mean that you're wishy-washy or flip-flopping or it. I think that there are so many parts to our personalities, and I've been doing a little bit of how's it called? Internal family systems therapy. And this therapy is, and I'm still kind of working my way through it. I find it very fascinating because I think there are why I like it so much is because there are so many different parts of Michael Rhodes. There's a part that's very confident. There's a part that's very insecure. There's a part that's very sweet and thoughtful and also an asshole. Like there's many parts to me, and I think that that's true of all of us. So we can have different feelings that seem almost contradictory, right? I can get upset thinking about this divorce and feel sorry for my actions in the marriage that led to divorce, and also not fucking want to be around her. Right? These can both be true. They can both exist. So just be mindful that is possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can think and feel whatever we want about whatever the fuck we want. So just be careful to not get locked into something because you think, there it can't be both. Bullshit. It can be whatever the fuck you want. You can hate this person and you can and love them. It really is possible. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I think we oftentimes get locked into these viewpoints that if there is some sort of weird contradiction, that there must be something wrong. And I just don't think that's the case. So, but anyway, well, let's talk about what is the work. And this might be really quick, it might be really long. I think the work, as I said to someone the other day, they asked this question: what is the work? What does that mean? And I think it's, in some ways it's complex because I think there are many things that we can work on as humans. That's for sure. There are many things that are dredged up or brought to the forefront by a divorce. So I think it is, at least in some ways, and hopefully this doesn't sound like a cop out, but it is different for every person. For instance, part of the work for me was trying to figure out, and I'm still working on this, fucking believe me, how to be a better communicator. Shockingly, many of us need to work on this. But in my view, or in my situation, it was more about expressing my feelings when I was hurt instead of giving the silent treatment, instead of shutting down. I still have work to do on this front, but I feel like I've made progress. I don't know 100% how much progress, or if any, until I really get into another relationship. But I feel like I've made progress in this front. At the very least, and I think it's more than this, but at the very least, I'm mindful. But for you, that might not be a thing that you need to work on. But for me, that was part of the work. Okay, how do I learn how to have difficult conversation? I'm definitely getting better, I think. But so for me, that was part of the work for sure. And then I think probably the biggest part of, and for you, how do you find these things? I guess this is the tricky part, because it's a lot. You have to have a filter, because they're going to say, and we've covered this many times, they're going to say, they being the wives that leave, they're going to say, they're going to give you every negative thing you've ever done. It seems like they're very good at tracking all those things. Like, I mean, my ex brought up shit from like when we first started dating, and like almost had like a checklist for over the years. So you want to take that information in. Now, I will say that over a period of time, you have to get through an initial period before you can really start doing some self-examination. And so maybe this is sort of a latter part of the work. But you have to take in the negative things they said with a filter. And I don't know how to do this honestly without a therapist or a coach or something of that nature. I don't, and this isn't a sales pitch. It's just I do think it's hard to filter it yourself, especially in the beginning. That's why I say maybe you do this a little bit later in terms of really self-examining and diving deep, because you're not going to have any filter initially. You're going to think that whatever she says is gospel because you're in such a headspace that you're the fuck up, you're the problem. And so anything to reinforce that narrative, that story, you're gonna take it on. You're gonna eat it up, or you'll do the opposite and want to burn the boat, so to speak. So it is a bit tricky in the beginning. I think you want to avoid trying to figure out what are some of the things that were part of the divorce that you can work on. I think the work in the beginning is just getting fucking through each day. Sometimes that can be very difficult, like extremely. So I think this is, and again, I do think it is different for everyone. Some people get very, very super fucking angry in the beginning. So the work for them is not the same as the work for someone who is suicidal. Like these are two different ends of the spectrum, I suppose. I mean, they're certainly different for sure. So, but let's focus on, I know I'm kind of getting all over the place here. I apologize, but let me sort of back up and start with the gentleman that is distraught. What is the work for him? I think the work for you is definitely with a therapist, and I think largely revolves around some type of narrative therapy, some way to change the narrative about you. Because and someone posted this the other day that they can't get out of that thought loop. And there's an episode on negative thought loops, I think 95 or 96. There's that loop where you feel like you're not enough, or I can't remember the gentleman's words, but you're not enough. You know, it was all your fault type of stuff, right? Your first part of the work is to get out of that loop by changing your story, your narrative. Easier said than done. This can be done, though, obviously with the help of a therapist, with the narrative therapy exercises that are covered by MC McDonald in, I can't remember what fucking episode, but the last one I did with her, I don't know the number. Go through those exercises, journaling. For me, I think it's getting to know very intimately the story you're telling yourself about yourself. That's what is it that you're telling yourself about yourself due to this divorce? You're a fuck up, you're a loser, you're a piece of shit, you didn't listen, you didn't care about her feelings, whatever all those things are. What is that story? Because then when you know what it is, you can start changing it. Journaling will help you to get to this point where you understand, write down, what are you telling yourself about yourself? And look for patterns. You're going to have to journal pretty frequently. And yes, it's an annoying sort of at times chore-like thing, but it is very helpful because it allows you to see where you are, right? So then once you do that, then it's narrative therapy, then it's with a therapist, start changing the story. Another component of this is while you're journaling is catching these negative thoughts. When you start journaling and you start catching the thoughts that sort of round out your narrative, right? So I'm a piece of shit is your narrative, or I'm a failure, or I'm a fuck up is the narrative. What are you saying to yourself to reinforce that? Anytime anything goes wrong, if you're sort of downing yourself or putting yourself down, how specifically? And hopefully in some ways it's sort of a repetitive pattern, because then you can start seeing it. And then you can start making decisions about what to do with that thought. So step 1, get a therapist. Step 2, journal. Step 3, work with the therapist based on what is in your journal. Develop strategies around changing not only your narrative, true, but the nuance and the pieces that feed the narrative, that those negative thoughts, specific as you can. I'm a piece of shit. Then you make a decision. This is just my view. Then you make a decision about that negative thought and decide how am I going to deal with that? Am I going to try and find the source of that negative thought. Like that's my mom talking. Or am I going to try and change that negative thought with some kind of evidence? Yeah, but you did this, I did this, and this. You were never you never did anything around the house. Yeah, but I was working 14-hour days or what the fuck ever. Whatever that negative thing is, you can provide evidence against it. Um, or you can just say, well, that's negative. I don't need that. So those are the three things that I think, and I think I've covered this before, maybe I haven't. Those are the three things I think that you can sort of use to push back on or handle the nuances that are feeding your narrative. It is all about narrative. It's all about the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. Once you change that, then you'll start changing how you feel about the situation. Because I can take, and it took a long time to do this, and I think we're all capable of this. It took me a long time to go from I'm a fuck up, I'm a failure, it's all my fault, to I did my best and now I'm learning how to be better. It took a long time to do that, and it wasn't fucking easy. But instead of beating myself up, feeling like it's all my fault, I've lost everything, I fucked it all up, to I did my best, and all I can do is try and be better going forward. That takes a while. That takes work. That's the work. If I had to boil it down, and again, there's other things involved with the work, but if I had to boil it down, it's a couple things. For one, for sure, it's your narrative, fixing your narrative, and that's, I mean, to me, that's kind of one of the big ones. Maybe the biggest one, and then maybe pretty close behind that um, is the management of emotions that come. And I say this all the time. It's not control, and this comes from Jonesy episode 2. You can't control your emotions. You can manage them. I see guys all the time that are like, oh, I wish I want to stop, being angry when she's around, or I want to, well, actually, sadly, not enough guys say that. Um, they lean into the anger so very much. Um, but whatever it is, they want to stop X because of Y or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Um, you can't stop feeling a way, not without a lot of work. So what am I saying? So if every time you're around her you get angry, you can't it over a course of a period of time changing the narrative around that situation. You can, but initially it's not going to be changing. It's not going to be I just want to stop getting angry when she's near. No, you want to manage that anger to then maybe change it or to distract from it or whatever. Um, that's probably the second piece of the work, because in my view, and I could be wrong here, we wound up where we are because we were really bad at managing our emotions. We were really bad at taking a situation that was frustrating and hurtful and not making it into anger. We're very bad at that. Yeah, at least I was. I'm based on what I've seen over the last 5 years since she left, 5+ years now, and the 4-ish years of running divorce support for men and working with many different men from many different places. It's the management of emotions that more likely than not led to the divorce, or at least a large chunk of it. I mean, and there's nuance there, and I get that. There's societal changes, there's women in the workforce, and that's causing issues with the responsibilities around a house, and social media probably doesn't should it probably doesn't fucking help for a variety of reasons. I mean, there's all kinds of things, but I think for us men, from what I have seen over the last 5 years or so, is that our management of emotions is just fucking poor. We turn everything into anger. I know for me that is true. So let me back up and sort of recap, because I think this is important. This is, people ask this all the time. What is the work? And I know I've said a lot of shit, and I can tend to ramble. This is the work, in my view. Step one, it involves a therapist. Certainly, you can read books. You can get into divorce care, support groups, for sure. But a good therapist, journaling, some narrative work, um, and then emotional management is the second part of this piece. The second part of this, I don't know, way. This is the way. Second part of this mission, maybe, or this definition, I guess, the work. Uh, I think if you get those two focused on, you're gonna have your fucking hands are gonna be full. And again, I think there are nuances beyond those, although I think it all centers around that. Because if my issue with silent treatment, if I could have told myself a better story around the feelings that I had, then maybe I would have been able to deal with them differently. So in other words, if instead of getting angry, or when I got angry, I was able to tell myself that that's, you know what, that's not who you are. You're just not sure what exactly you're upset about. So let's and a lot of this that sounds so I don't know, bullshitty if I'm being honest. But when you do the work, this stuff becomes sort of second nature. I don't stop and think necessarily like I don't want to be this way when I'm pissed. I just think, how can I do this different or whatever. Actually, I don't even think sometimes. Now I think it's just a lightning quick reaction, knowing innately that like, no, I don't want to be pissed. I don't want to be stressed. I don't, and there are certain things I'm still working on and struggling with. Anxiety, but I'm getting much better with that. Stress, I'm again getting much better, just much more aware, and then not even having to make a conscious decision about where I want to be. It just happens, and that's the work. It's looking at, again, that's the sort of third part of it, but I think those first two are intertwined. The third part of it is it's individual work around your shit. And again, that can be, I've said again like 17 times in this episode. Apologies. Um, if I transcribe this shit anymore, I would look at transcripts and count them. But there's a component of this that it has to do with your individual stuff, and you have to. That's what I was going to say. You have to make sure you're being very careful about finding out what your shit is, quote unquote. Because if it's always coming from someone else, or if that piece of it, especially in the beginning, came from her, you're going to need to filter that through a therapist, friends, good friends though, not friends aren't going to just bullshit you. Good friends that are going to tell you the truth. Yeah, man, sometimes you are kind of a dick. That's a great friend, honestly. They're hard to find, I think. It feels that way anyhow. But that's a valuable friend that will help you set that filter, and who doesn't beat you up. And that's one of the other pieces, I guess I'll say about all this. When I talk about sort of how you view yourself, that's reinforced by your negative thoughts, how you talk to yourself. One of the things that always hit home for me when I sort of approached this negative self-talk thing was the way that I talk to me, what I talk to my friend that way. And for whatever reason, that was very what are the word, liberating or eye-opening or effective for sure for me to go, no, I would not talk to my friends that way. Why the fuck am I talking to me that way? Like who's closest to me other than me, right? Like I'm sort of, I have to be my own friend, my own advocate, my own supporter. Not that you have to do it all on your own. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if I can't support me, who the fuck will? And some friends obviously will be great and will and can, but it shouldn't be on just everybody else to support me. It's an inside job. It's my fucking job. You will need support. You will need help. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you should be, shouldn't say should. Ideally, and by the way, there's a reason I don't say should, or I try not to say should, because should is a shaming word. Because what you're saying is, if I did that, I'd be better, but I'm not doing that, so I'm bad. You understand what I'm saying? So I try very hard to not say should. And when I do, I always catch myself and say it would be ideally I would do it this way, or it would be ideal if I did it that way, or whatever. To not shame myself. I have enough fucking shame. I don't need any more. Ideally, we should be our best advocate, our best supporter ourselves. It's again easier again. It's easier said than done. I think that's all I have for this one. I hope that's clear. I do want to say I got the studio has changed, as you can see, and if it looks like shit, or if you love it, can you let me know? Because I have no idea. I think it looks okay. I love the sign for sure. I love the way it's lit. I love the Pink Floyd album because it's one of the best albums of all time. I love the guitar. I don't know. Maybe I don't know about the lighting. I don't know about the background, the paneling behind there. I have another paneling. I just haven't thrown it up yet. But if you don't like it, that's cool. You can tell. It's not going to hurt my feelings. If you do like it, that's cool too. Either way, just let me know. What do you think? Just want to cover one last update, and that is, I don't have any more episodes recorded. I take that back. I have one episode that I already recorded, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it work. Not because of content, and I think some of the guys in the Discord know this. My previous laptop decided it didn't feel like working anymore, so I had to buy a new one. And when I recorded the first episode the first episode on the new laptop, the settings were fucked up. So it's going to be fine audio wise. There's a couple things. One, I bought a new laptop. I think it was an HP, and I recorded one episode, the one I'm talking about, and it didn't work out. I think largely because I tried to cheapen out a little bit and I bought a cheaper laptop. I don't think it had the power to do what I asked it to do. So for me, my audio cut out a couple of times, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I suspect it didn't have enough juice to do what I needed to do. So I bought it, but that recording was saved, and now I have a new laptop, another new laptop. I took the other one back, and so I think visually. I think I'm not sure if I can make it. The settings were off. I'm not sure if I can make it work visually. So on YouTube, it might not look so great. I think there will be moments of me talking and you're looking at the guest, and vice versa. The audio version, I for sure can make work, because even the moments that my mic cut out, it was very apparent to the guest, and they alerted me. And it was intermittent, and it wasn't that bad, but I think I can salvage it in a way that you probably wouldn't even notice. So why am I telling you that? Because that's the only one I have recorded. And if I can't make it work, there might not be an episode out next week, because I don't have anything scheduled before then. I have, I think, 3 scheduled, but not until later in October, next month. Actually, I guess tomorrow will be first. So I don't think I'll have anything. If I can't make it work, I don't think I'll have anything next week, unfortunately. My apologies. I kind of went through a lull where I didn't really feel like scheduling too much. And I had a lot going on in all other areas of my life. So I've gotten sort of back into it, and I do have 3 more scheduled, and I'm hopeful to get those done and have no issues. So if you don't see one next week, that's why. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were, sometimes I do get messages like, you all right? When's a new episode coming? So I just wanted to put it out. Anyway, that is all that I have for this week. And again, I might edit the shit out of this one a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, for commenting. It is most definitely appreciated. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and/or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.